Hello, everyone. I recently had a little bit of a brainwave that I wanted to share. So I recently watched a video from a couple of years ago from Dan John, who is a coach. Roughly speaking, a kind of track and field coach, although he's done a ton of things. I mean, this guy's been around forever. Dan John, he's written books going back to, like, I don't know, the Grover Cleveland administration or something. He's been around. He's done everything. He's seen everything. He's a very useful resource if you care about this stuff. So Dan John made a little chatty video responding to someone asking a question about Mike Mentzer training. So-called HIT, high intensity training. The questioner saw some similarities in what Dan John was doing to Mentzer, and in some ways, okay, I can see that. In many other ways, I cannot. I was basically interested in it and wanted to do it. And I kind of immediately... So if you don't know, HIT Mentzer stuff is more or less bodybuilding in a particular mode of bodybuilding. So I immediately knew right off the bat Dan John was going to have problems with it because Dan John coaches athletes. And in that context, he already has a problem with ideas of kind of breaking down the body into body parts rather than focusing on athletic movements and stuff, which is what he does. So I expected there to be some friction already. But he goes on to talk about how he himself went off to Nautilus to try this kind of training and gave it his all, bought into it, and saw his throws actually go down because at the time he was a discus thrower. And he kind of moved on. So that's one sort of source of complaint he brings up. He also mentions... He calls the Mentzer folks a cult. And he really, like, me and Dan John are both religious studies guys, and I have to kind of object a little. Like, Dan John knows that the word cult is not to be thrown around lightly. Let's put it that way. I kind of get what he means. I mean, a bit tangent. A lot of the HIT Mentzer discussion, even now, is what philosophy nerds would call a kind of Mott and Bailey structure. So, they will advocate and do a lot of kind of outrageous, objectionable training stuff, and then when you call them on it, they will come in and say, "How dare you strawman Mike Mentzer? How Mike Mentzer's training principles are very simple," and they will list some things out that are very agreeable, and it's just like there's something wrong with you if you want to ask, okay, how does this connect to the super slow stuff, or the easy curl bars don't work for biceps stuff? So yeah, it's classic Mott and Bailey stuff, and I would not call it a cult, but best of luck if you get into arguments with these people. Not to say that you can't steal good ideas from Mentzer. I have. You should, too. Maybe. Anyways, none of that matters, because at the end, after laying out all of his complaints about this training approach, Dan John tells the person asking this question, you know what, if you want to do it, it'll probably work for about 6 weeks. He repeats this a couple of times. It'll work for 6 weeks. And on the one hand, that is extraordinarily good burn on any style of training, but it also, to me, points out a really deep fundamental thing about training and training programs in general, because it isn't just the Mentzer stuff. Like this, every single training program you can come up with, I think by the nature of training programs, is going to have an expiration date. It's going to have some kind of shelf life from when you start doing it. And how long that is depends on the trainee. It depends on the nature of the training, the sport, but it could be a month. It could be a couple of months. But often as not, it's very spooky, actually. It's 6 weeks, and so by, you start off a new way of training, and you make lots of progress. You get better and better and better. You feel great, and by, weeks, the transition from week 6 to week 7, progress starts to hit a wall. Your interest and motivation start to wane. You start to flirt with injuries a little bit. And you run into that question, okay, what the heck do I do now? Now what do I do? Do I keep trying to punch down this wall? Do I keep going? Do I take a light week, a deload or something? Do I switch to another kind of training? What other kind of training? What do I do after this? It's a really, really deep fundamental problem that everyone's going to run into. It's not the first problem everyone's going to run into in training. Like, before you ever get to this, you have to have, you have to get your prospective athlete to do the work, to actually show up to the field, to the fitness center, the gym, whatever the heck it may be. You have to have them do something that is reasonably intelligent and promotes progress. So those are hurdles you have to get over from the start. But at some point, if you can do that, you are going to run into the 6 weeks problem. You just will. It's going to happen. And incidentally, this is why, another footnote, this is why the YouTube videos, which are all the rage right now, if you're in the kind of fitnessy training area of YouTube, on basically the optimal training choices for everything, those videos are always very popular. So tier ranking of the best biceps exercises, the best exercises you can do for improving starts for your sprinting, whatever it might be. These are all, past a certain point, totally useless, because you can build picking and choosing the most optimal exercises of everything, and you can build a perfect program. I mean, God himself can descend from the heavens to give you the perfect week-long training program to repeat with rules for progression and all that stuff, and it'll work great. It really will work great for a couple of months tops, and then you hit the wall, and you will have to do something worse. You will have to do something suboptimal just because the optimal thing ain't working anymore, and that's because of what we are. Like, we are not machines. We are not toasters. A toaster, you can optimize the exact right heating level, whatever, for getting the perfect toast and expect the same thing, expect the same output from the same input every time. Human beings don't work like that. The output changes because we adapt and we change. Like, that's what we do. That's one of the things it means to be alive. We don't get optimal. We just don't. Anyway, and this is also why coaches, the 6 weeks problem is why coaches are important. Dead stop. Coaches are useful for lots of reasons. They're a second set of eyes. Coaches do lots of things. But I think the fundamental reason why you would want a coach, why you would pay them your money, is because they know what to do when you run into the 6 week problem. Any idiot can build their own halfway decent, a training program. No, that's not true. Some people. Any reasonably intelligent person can build their own good, sensible training program. It's just not that hard. You can do it. The problem is what you do once you hit the wall. And the coach is there because they have ideas for what to do when you hit the wall. In fact, they have already kind of assumed that wall is going to be there and planned ahead of it. I guess really good coaches, one thing you might notice if you talk to really good coaches is they can almost seem lackadaisical, for lack of a better, lazy about the details of what's going into the current training. So if I go watch a video of some people doing front squats to a box, and I go out to my coach, let's say I'm an actual athlete rather than just a gym rat, and I say, "Hey, I saw these people doing box front squats. Can we throw this into the next training block?" The coach might just think about it for a second and go, "Yeah, that sounds fine." And it's not because they think. They're not thinking that hard about the contents of the current training block because they are thinking about where this athlete's going to be and where they want the athlete to be in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years down the line. And from that perspective, the details of what you were throwing into that slot in the program just doesn't matter that much. I would go so far to say if the coach cannot deal with the 6-week problem, they just aren't a coach. They're just faking it. Anyway, so the reason why I bring this up, I have some Pulteney now that I've ranted about that, is because this thinking about this gave me a handle on something else I've been thinking about for a long time, and it took me a while to figure out these things were connected. It has to do with spirits. Basically, the question I had been kind of scratching my head about was, why shouldn't, in the context of spirits, why shouldn't people just always drink the best thing? Whether it's the best thing in general or the best thing for them. I mean, so if you're loaded, why not just buy dozens of cases of, Brora 72 and just drink nothing but that? Or if you're, I don't know, if you kind of want to min-max optimize your life and your spirits choices, why not just and you want to buy the best QPR all the time, why not just drink nothing but unaged rum? Because I've argued on many occasions that unaged rum is the current QPR, quality price ratio king in the world of spirits. That is the one to beat, and if you want to optimize things at that level, that's what you buy. So why not just, just drink the best thing or the best value thing or whatever? And the answer I've had in the past, without being able to kind of spell it out in any detail, was to say, well, at some point you're just going to not be able to taste it anymore. I mean, what I mean by that is you're going to be registering your unaged rum or your Brora or whatever. You're going to be enjoying it to some extent, but after a certain point, there's going to be no engagement. You're just not going to be firing the synapses while drinking the stuff anymore. And once you reach that point, you're going to have to, again, kind of go and drink something worse. Worse quality-wise or worse value-wise. Just because, it's different. And it still gets the engagement going. Here's what I mean. You go out and you buy a really nice bottle of something. Let's assume it is really nice. What do? You go to your man cave, or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. You pour yourself your first glass, and you really enjoy it. It's you're still trying to wrap your head around it. You haven't totally neck pory stuff. I don't want to get into that debate, but you really enjoy it. You feel like you haven't really settled into it yet, but you really enjoy your first glass. That's your first session. A couple of nights later, you go back to the same bottle, you pour another glass, and you get much more out of it. Not much, a little bit more out of it, maybe. Is that because you've kind of gotten better in your ability to engage with this stuff, Is it because maybe some of the volatiles and the spirit have calmed down? Maybe both. Who knows? But you have a little bit more engagement the second time. Third time, maybe even a little bit more. But by, session 10 with the same spirit, you're still tasting it. You're still enjoying it. But are you still engaging with it in the same way? It's like, reading the same poem, the same passage of great prose one too many times. It just starts to... You're not really getting the meaning. You're not really even thinking about it anymore. You're just kind of digesting it, and that's it. And I think this is a normal phenomenon. We all go through this. Me, not so much anymore, because now I'm a reviewer, and I practically have something different in my glass every single sipping session that I do, which gets a little bit overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. I think this is comparable to the 6-week problem, though. I would say, I don't have a lot of data to back this up, I would say most folks, when they buy a nice bottle, have maybe, ballpark it, 10 to 20, 25 sessions of sipping the same thing and getting engagement with it, like a real living dialogue with this stuff, before they just kind of go numb to it a little bit. And depending on how often you sip good spirits, that timeline may be about 6 weeks. I'm not saying there's anything special or magical about that number. I'm just saying it's weird how often that's how it works out. So what do you do in that case? I mean, that's a perennial problem, right? What the heck do you do? Do you go out and buy a new expensive bottle? Do you keep drinking this, although you kind of past the point of where you're really, really, really enjoying it? You kind of juiced all the enjoyment you can out of this bottle, apparently. And if you change things up, where do you go? I think you can just go out and buy another bottle that's comparable. I do find that as you get more experience with a particular kind of category, say peaty scotches, maybe, your ability to juice enjoyment out of additional bottles kind of falls back over time. So if you're transitioning from like Lagavulin 8 to Ardbeg 10, you might have had your 15 sessions of enjoyment out of Ardbeg 10. When you go to your Lagavulin, whichever one was first, when you switch to your Ardbeg 10, it may be less than that. It may be like 8-10 sessions before you start to get a little bit of fatigue. And I think that's just part of the nature of how we are. At a certain point, like, you're going to get numb to these categories a little bit, and that to some extent maybe justifies the existence of this channel, of going and seeking out different kinds of spirits. Because if you are, you love peaty whiskey, like you're married to peaty whiskey, maybe a fling with something else is just the thing to kind of reignite that relationship a little bit. Go and explore, I don't know, fruit brandies, mezcals, cane juice rums, something like that for a little while, just to get your palate kind of back in shape. To go back to the training thing, I remember somewhere or other, Mike Toucher, is a powerlifting guy, says, if someone has been training in a very intelligent, well laid out way for a decade, 2 decades, and they're starting to hit a wall more and more and more, maybe the best way to train them is something stupid, like, a classic Arnold body part split or something, just because they haven't done that ever. Same kind of idea. Well, please don't take that as an invitation to do body part splits, or as an invitation to go out and buy, I don't know, bad vodka or, I don't know, buzz balls or whatever. But you got my point. You can kind of take this bottle that you're not enjoying that much anymore, put it away. You know, if you're really obsessive, put some plastic wrap on top or something. I know there's some of you out there that do this. No shame. Put it away for a little while. Go enjoy something else, something a little different if you still have space to kind of enjoy the category, or something totally different. Just, you know, go explore a different category. Go explore cocktailing. Go have a little bit of fun. And then after you've had some distance, 3 months, 6 months, a year, go back to that bottle you tucked away. Like this, I pulled out this Pulteney 17 because I haven't had it in a while. Go out and just give it a pour. This bottle that you kind of, you know is good, but you just kind of fell out of love with. Give it a pour. See what you think about it. And I can't guarantee you, but I would bet that sparkle would be back. Maybe not in the same way, but you'll stick your nose into this and go, oh wow, dang, that's pretty damn good. And the engagement will be back. Pulteney is so good. Anyways, just some thoughts on... it's just something more to be aware of than strict conclusions. If you are in a rut with your drinking, just go try something else. Try something interesting that you haven't had in a while. Or go dig up an old bottle that you haven't had in a while. And see how it goes. I think you'll be surprised at your appreciation of the change. Thanks for watching, and cheers.